Fine. Uh,
That lady that you have to wait, is she waiting?
Another person has joined. You sure MTN don't want to crease today?
Yeah, Chris already.
Okay.
They're stressing me.
Share this. Just pray this one self not call me anytime soon before I finish this class. Okay. Okay, good evening, Blessing and Josephine. Oh my goodness. Yes, Blessing, I think you were in class yesterday. I think you were in class the last time, right?
Good evening. Well, I wasn't fully in the class. I came in, but I was doing some things at that time, so
Okay.
I was not fully in class.
Okay, so well, what we did last class was basically an intro into Excel. We explored the Excel interface basically and went around how to input data into Excel and copy and paste. I believe that we we have interacted with Excel one way or the other. So we basically just um, navigated. Show I basically just showed how you can navigate Excel from launching Excel to creating a worksheet, how you can enter data formats, and yeah, how you can save, copy, print, paste, and do all of that. So today we'll be looking at these topics. We'll be looking at basic Excel formulas and operation, mathematical functions, all the functions, logical functions, date functions, and then we might also be able to explore HLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, and index matching. Right. And so there's something I want. So maybe one of you can volunteer. Who will be the captain of this class? Because there's something I want us to do for the period we'll be having this. I think by Friday we should be ending, or maybe like next Monday we should be ending this class. And I want to give you like areas for further reading so that you keep posting each day, like the topic for each day, and just so that you take a few minutes out of your day to read on that topic. That could also help you better, right? So anyone that wants to volunteer before the end of the class, it's fine. I'll reach out to the person and share the document. And so today we'll be looking at Excel formulas and functions. And so let me share my Excel. Yeah. So in Excel, there are different formulas and functions that will helps us to perform operations in Excel. So we have the sum function. So just like in math, sum basically means to add up, right? So and remember that in the last class I said we write formulas in Excel by first specifying the equal to. So when you want to write formulas in Excel, you have to start with the equal to first. That tells the Excel that a formula is about to be imputed and it doesn't regard it as any other entry, right? So it helps you to perform the function which you want it to perform. And remember, I said that Excel is um values in Excel are written in cells. So each cell holds a unique data entry. For instance, if you can see my screen, in this collection of data, we have customer name, mobile phones, television, soda maker, laptops. And this customer name, which is the header of this table, is in a cell, and the cell identifier or the cell ID is H1. Remember that Excel is divided into rows and columns. So the columns are labeled alphabetically while the rows are labeled numerically. So for you to identify an item within an Excel sheet, you identify it by its cell, and that cell has a unique value. So it takes the combination of the column and the row number for you to identify it. So for here, customer name will be in cell H1 because it's in column H and it is in row 1. And then Maria Tracy will be in cell H2 because it is in column H and in row 2, and so forth. So every other item here has a unique cell that you can use to identify the value in it, right? So we are talking about formulas in Excel. For instance, this is a spreadsheet of maybe sales in a business, and this has the name of the customer that purchased the item, the phone, television, so each of the customers bought these items. Now we want to calculate how much an individual customer spent. So we want to know Maria Tracy, for all these items she bought or he bought, how much was spent. So of course in mathematics we want to add the value here plus the value here plus the value here plus the value here, right? And in Excel we use a function called sum. Remember that you first start with the equal to specify that you're writing. Re- remember that yes, so we use the equal to signify that we are writing a formula. I've ended her call. So we called on the function sum that helps us to add numbers. And you see that Excel is very smart. It gives you
with the padlock.
see my key.
Okay, I'm coming.
The black. Please hold on. Yes. If you cannot open it, just tell him, oh my God, tell him to help you open the door. Okay, so sorry, and pardon me for that break. Yeah, so I was saying that confirm that you can you still see my screen? Can you see my screen?
No, we can't.
Okay,
Okay, it's up now.
okay. So please feel free to call my attention if you need. Okay. So remember that we use the equal to function to add up values. And Excel is very smart. You see that it's already shown you how you can go about that. So you reference your number one, your first value that you want to add. Of course, because addition and summation works with numbers, right? So you're supposed to enter your number one, number two, and so forth till the end. Now we could have ideally done by manually entering the value here. Five, so the first one is 500, and then we go on to writing the 300 and so forth. But then we are learning Excel so that we can reduce manual tasks and we can improve efficiency. So what if we were entering, instead of 500, we now entered 5,000, right? So it will still bring us back to the errors we are prone to having when we are working manually. And so we use the referencing. So we reference the value here, comma, the value here, comma, or we could rather still just do like this, highlight the whole of this place, which, oh my God. So we could still rather do this way, highlight all the values, which means check all the values from cell what? L2 to, I2 to L2 and sum them up. So you close and enter. See that it has auto summed it. So let's do the other one. So we could also come here. What's the function we call to add the values up? You can unmute your mic and speak, please. What is the function we are using to add up these values, sum the values here? Is anyone on the call? Oh my God, I'm speaking to myself. I'm so sorry. I didn't know my mic was muted. I was speaking and you didn't call my attention. So where did we stop? Where did you hear me last? Like at what point did you stop hearing me? Okay, so I'll just keep on going, right? What's up? Fine, how you doing? Okay, so I was saying that you use the sum function to add up values, right? So, and of course you always use the equal to specify that you're writing a formula. And what's sum if? So we're using sum, and we want to sum the values here. So remember, our values are in cells identified with the colon, title, and then the row number. So here we want to add these values here. So we're adding the values from cell L to cell L3 down I3, sorry, cell I3 down to cell L3. So I will just reference them, highlight and enter. So you see that it has summed it for us. Now we can autofill, meaning apply the same formula to this part, and you just write, double
Sorry,
click.
I can't see your phone again.
It's up. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
So kindly drop the call from the call and join again. Could be your network.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so Blessing, have you been following so far?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so let's wait for her to join in back and we'll continue.
Okay.
Okay, can you see the screen now? Hi, Josephine, can you see the screen now? Okay, so I'll continue. So let me erase off these parts and then you'll tell me what to do. Yeah. So now we found how much each customer spends, right? We now want to see of how much revenue from each product was generated. Mobile phones, how much was generated? television how much was generated, soda maker how much was generated, and then laptops how much was generated. So please unmute your mic and just um give me directives on how to calculate it. What do we start by typing? Yes, I'm asking Blessing and Josephine. So we've calculated the first part. I want to calculate how much of each. So I want to calculate how much revenue was. Blessing, please mute your mic. I mean, Josephine, please mute your mic. Thank you. So I want to calculate how much revenue was generated for each product. So mobile phones, how much was generated? Television, how much was generated? Can someone unmute now and tell me how we will calculate that?
Sorry, can you take the question again? Because the screen just appeared now.
Okay. But do you understand how we calculated this other part that has the sum of total sales for each person? So where we have Maria Tracy, the person bought phone of 500, television 300, soda maker 332, and laptops 1000. And then we have the sum of 2132, right? So do you understand how we calculated to get this total sum?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so now we want to calculate for each product how much total revenue was generated. So we want to calculate for mobile phones all the sum of mobile phones down here, and then for television we want to calculate the total sum down. So how do we do that? Just give me directives to write the formula for us to calculate that.
Okay, is it where your cursor is right now?
Yes, please.
Okay, you just say equals to sum of you highlight the each should I say each column,
Yeah.
and you press enter.
Okay, great. Then we can autofill by taking our cursor here and drag. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So we can we can also do we can also count by condition. We can also sum by condition, right? So we can sum. So let me just do this here. So we can do a sum. Let me add an extra column. So we can do sum if. So we can sum by condition, right? So here we can do equals to sum if um there's no condition. Okay, so we can do that. We'll do that later. There's no condition that we can use to set here. Then of course we have situations where we can check true or false. So we can check true or false. Oh my god. So we want to check if a condition is true or false. So if the total sales here, okay, so let's do that here. Let's do the average. So we can also sum for average, right? So let's check average of the sales. So still there's a function called average. So we just use the average and find the average sum. So the same thing we did here. So we don't even need to do this. So since here is the total already, right? We could do total of this times the occurrence, which is 4, or we could still just reference the whole of this and enter. So you see that you can easily calculate average of any number just by using the average function. Okay, we also have average here. So just by using the average function. And then we can also now decide to check the true or false. So we can decide to check if the average here is greater than the sum or lower. So we will say this value here, so this, so we can decide to reference equals to true. So we want to check if it is true that the value here, so we want to check if it is true that the value here is less than the value here. So we reference this. Is it less than the value in this place and enter? Hmm, sorry. Hmm, okay. So we're checking if the value here is less than the value here, and of course it's false. This 2132 is not less than 533, right? And then we autofill and see that all are false because of course the values, the value in the sum is not, cannot be more than the average. Yes, cannot be more, it's not more than the average. So this is how you check for conditions if it is true or false. And then we also have the if. uh, so the if checks for condition, if a condition is true or false. So of course you are still using the equal to. If, what do you want to check? Is it give you logical test? What is the logical test you want to check? Um, if this is greater than this, then what do you want to return? It is not less than the average.
It's not so much. I don't know what's just one. You didn't do anything before today. Me? You couldn't do anything.
So so what were the, yeah, so we can use the if condition, right? The if statement to check if, what is the logical test? So our logical test is we want to check if this value is less than average, right? Then if it is less than average, we want it to display less than, I forgot I'm not using Python. So less than average. Then if it is not, then we want it to display not less than average or greater than average. Of course, we are closing. And we want it to constantly reference that cell. So we'll lock it up with the dollar sign before the colon, uh before the colon and before the row. So you should lock it up and use that as constant. And we autofill. So 1.5 is greater than, no, it's less than, no. So yeah, so it returned that it's greater than because we asked it to check if it is less than. So when it sees that it is not less than, whether even if it is equal to, it will return that it is not less than. No, it is less than or equal to if less than, return average. If it is, or if it is greater than, return greater than. Or we said not less than, yeah, so that it doesn't, it captures, so it's not greater, it's not less than. Okay, so because of course this is 1.5 here, this is 1.5, so it's not less than average. Okay, so all is not less than average. So let me change. Okay, so I referenced so let me reference this instead. Okay, so we're checking this. So this is average sales. Okay, so we're checking if the total sales is greater than or less than average, right? And you see that here in Likamia bought items that are less than average, and here also there are places that are less than average. So this is how you calculate averages in your data in Excel. And then you might also want to check for conditional statements using the AND operator. You want to check for more than one conditions instead of checking for if the items are less than average. You can check with multiple conditions. So you could want to check if the total sales is less than average and maybe total laptops bought are greater than 1,000 or something, right? So the AND um condition, the AND operator helps you to pass two conditions. So and then with the AND operator, you want to ensure that all conditions meet. So it's like you are trying to all conditions meet, like both condition return true. For in this case, we want to check the passing mark of the student, right? And you have to ensure that all of these grades are greater than 50 because the passing mark is 50. So all of the grades here has to be greater than 50 for the student to pass. Once at some point the student mark is less than 50, even if for all other subjects here the person scores 100 over 100, for the fact that they have a score that is less than 50, it makes the person to not to pass, because the AND operator basically ensures that all stated conditions return true before it will allow the condition to also return true, right? So and then the or, so basically this is this. So we have, still remember that we are going to use the equal to state that we're writing a formula. So still remember that we're going to use an equal to write the formula and call on our function, which is AND. Now we are referencing 70 has to be greater than this passing mark 50. I mean the score here has to be greater than this passing mark, which is 50. And then 45, the score here. So you have to reference the whole of the rows, the value in the whole of the rows. Each has to be greater than this passing mark. And you enter, and then you see that it returns false because this person um cannot pass because they had a 45 here. But with the or operator, the or operator is more friendly, so it allows room. You don't have to meet all the criteria. Once you have at least one condition that meets this passing mark, it will allow you to pass. So even if here you're scoring 35, 35, 35, and then in one of your subjects you have above 65, then you can pass. But with the AND operator, all of the marks has to be to resonate with the passing mark, right? So it has to be greater than the passing mark for you to pass. So let me pause, and if you have any questions. I don't even know that my as if I'm talking to myself. Okay. Okay. Okay, Josephine, do you have any question? Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry. My network went off for some minutes, so I just rejoined. But I actually understood all these things you did.
Okay, okay. So yeah. So basically this I will share this Excel sheet with you. So basically this is how these are some Excel formulas that you can explore. So let's move to another sheet where we will work on another data set. Let me, where is it? Mm, mm. So let me share something else. Okay. So no, okay. Okay, I think we've worked with this data set. Okay, so let's work with this data set instead. Okay, so let's work with this data set. Confirm that you can see employment timesheet. Okay. So this is like a sheet of employees that take employees ID, their name, when they clock in, when they clock out, so it now calculates the time difference from when they clock in and when they clock out to know the number of hours they worked. And we can now use the number of hours to calculate their hourly pay, which is $20 per hour, right? So I think this is, what is this again? Okay. So how do we do that? We want to calculate this minus this, and because the time is in 24 hours, right? So we have to multiply times 24 so that it converts into the 24-hour timing. So we're minusing, so of course equal to the value here minus the value from this cell. So because of board mass, we want to wrap it up so that it takes precedence, right? And then multiply by 24 just so that it converts the value to 24-hour timing. So I did the multiplication from, so it's this minus this. Yeah, so we have 10 hours for this, and of course we just double click to autofill, and because we want to convert this to whole numbers, right? Want to convert it to whole numbers, and so we converted this to whole number by rounding it up to the nearest whole number. So we rounded up this to the nearest whole number. That's why we have it rounded up. And yeah, so we can use this now. So we now know that for this we have 10 hours. This person worked for 10 hours, this person worked for 8 hours, and we multiply the hours they work by the $20 to know their wage for that day. So remember, we do cell referencing. So whatever value that is here, why why we need to reference the cell is so that, let's say tomorrow or in a month, the employer decides to upgrade the wage per hour to maybe 25, right? If you've already calculated, if we just typed in the 25, the 20 here before, it means that we will need to come and manually update the calculation. But when we reference, whatever value that is here auto updates to the existing value. So for instance, let's calculate with the $20 first, then we can update. So this person worked for 10 hours and their wage is $20. So we're having equal to, of course, because whenever I want to write any formula, you have to start with the equal to. And then this multiply by this value, and we enter. So this person earns 200 for that day. And if we autofill, we get this. So we worked on something in the last class, and I told you if you need to reference a particular cell all through your operation, there's something you need to do. So let me check how many people were in. So you were not in class the last class. Okay, so so because we are referencing from this cell, right? So let me go into the formula why these parts are 0. So you see that because we are referencing from this cell, Excel auto picks that because we started referencing from this cell, so the next cell should be, the value should be in this cell. Then when we come here, the next value should be here. But then you see that all these places are empty, and of course any number multiplied by 0 returns 0, right? So that's why we have these zeros. So how do we do in order for Excel to automatically reference just this one cell where we have values inside? Because we don't want to duplicate this same value, because we don't want to auto duplicate all this one. It will be us creating, wasting our system memory resource, right? So we just want to reference from that cell. So what we do is we come and block it with a dollar sign. Remember, the alphabet symbolizes the colon, right? And then the number symbolizes the row. So it means that we are blocking the value that is in cell K4, so that when we autofill, it will just always direct to this cell and fetch the value that is here. So when I autofill, you see that it automatically references the value that is there. Look at, so it's automatically referencing only the value that is in cell K4 and not trying to fetch value from the other preceding cells, right? So that's how you block a specific cell where you want to reference data from. Then we could also decide to, okay, so I think we did this already. We've calculated, we did this in the last class by counting the total number of entries. We calculated total entries were calculated by a condition. So we counted for the number of employees whose gender is male, right? I think this is male. C5. Okay. So we calculated for employees whose gender is female. We also calculated for employees whose gender is male using the count if. So you are counting but with a condition. You're counting if the gender is male. If the gender is female, you can also decide to count if the age is a particular age, right? So this is for you counting with a condition. And then this count, when you count, use the count without the count A, it only counts numeric values. So we counted the number of age. So we counted the number of all the ages entered. And even though we see that all our total number of employees are 57, and there are data in practically almost all the columns for age. But if you look carefully, you see that there are some places that have special characters attached to the ages. When you use the count function, it ignores any value that is non-numeric. So because these ones have these special characters attached, it doesn't see it as numeric value. It sees it as string value, right? So it ignores it, and that is why we have age to be 41, because it ignored all these ones that have attached special characters to them. Then of course you can also count the total number of blank spaces within your data with the count blank. Then yeah, so let's look at the last slide for today. So let me present something else. Okay, so we have something called the X lookup and the H lookup. So the H lookup is a function that helps you to find value or search for a value horizontally across your data while the X lookup helps you to search for value across your data, whether horizontally or vertically, right? And then we also have the VLOOKUP, but the X lookup is a combination of the X and VLOOKUP. I mean, it's a combination of the V and H lookup. So we will be looking at X lookup instead, since it performs the function of both H and VLOOKUP. So for instance, this is data set of students in a school, and maybe we want to find someone whose ID is maybe 931. We want to find their details. We want to find the hall they reside and their full name. So we don't want to go through the stress of having to come and scroll through for 931. We find their data across here, go back and look for maybe 9205. Right. So with the X lookup, it gives you a quick filtering of your data. You can quickly filter. So you can decide to use, we are looking for 92, I think there's so 9205. So we are looking for students whose ID number is 9205 with the full name. So we can use so 9205, and here, so this is where the ID is, right? So we want to find the person's name, and of course you always start any function or formula with equal to. So X lookup, what do you want to return? The lookup value. What do you want to look for? You want to look for this value. In what range? Here. So you want to look for this value across here. You want to look for this value, which is the ID. Where do you want to look for the lookup value? You want to look up the lookup array, I mean. You want to look for it across this range, right? Then what value do you want to return? You want it to return the full name. So you want it to return the value that matches it across the full name, and enter. See that it has returned the person's name. So we use the same format still to look for the residence hall the person stays. So equal to, what function are we using? X lookup. X lookup. What is the lookup value? We are looking up for 90 for this ID number. Where is that ID number? Where can you find what range can you find the ID number in? Across the university ID. So across this range. So go through all this range and look for this number we've specified. And within the data, look for this, what value do you want it to return when you look for it? So you want to return the residence hall. So you go to where the residence hall is. So it will go through the entire data and find the residence hall that matches that ID. And it returns Evers, right? So you can always use this to have a quick filter of your data. Then so let's quickly do this. So we can use this same format to find the fees of these students here. So you see we have a sheet here that has the school fees of students based on their department, which means if we are looking for, if we want to match a student school fees in this sheet, we have to use the department to match it, right? So we are going to do X lookup. What do we want to find? The cost. Across what range? Across, then you come back to this sheet. So across this place, look for the program here. Then what do you want to return? Match it with the school fees. So you want to match it with the school fees and see that no. So we see this person's program major is biology, right? And it's 27. So let's see. So you see that biology is 27. So it automatically matches the course. So let's autofill, and geology is 36. So let's see geology's fee. Geology fee is 36. So you see that it has auto matched the school fees for the departments, for the students based on their department. So I want you to watch the video and use the same format I've done. I'll share the video with you, and I want you to use the same format I've done to match the comments for this. Yeah, so I want you use the video to match the comments here. Then you also count the total number of students, total number of comments from this sheet. So how many of this record has comments, right? And yeah, so that's all for Excel formulas and functions. Yeah, so you take this as a take home until Wednesday when we will meet. Then you try your hands. If you need any assistance, you can chat me up or get to read on it and you'll be able to explore. Yeah, so this has brought me to the end of our session today. Do you have any questions?
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Sorry, I joined in late. I actually joined earlier, but nothing was happening, so I stepped out for something else. But honestly, I don't have any question. But my question is, I don't really know. Is there any recording for the class that we can be able to look out for and go over again to understand better?
Okay, yeah, I I will share a recording by tomorrow morning.
Okay, okay, that was perfect. Thank you very much for your
Okay,
effort.
okay, you're welcome. Okay, good night.
Good night. Have a good night.